Okay, so welcome back to In the Kitchen with Jelly and his Kingsford Steakager. And I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on it a little bit that may be wondering how they're doing. And there is my ribeye roast that I put in. Let's see, it likes 23 of 45 days. It has 23 days left. So I'm almost midway. All right. The issues I've had, nothing drastic. One is that the UV light, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, but there's plenty of videos, and I will in a minute when I decide to open this. I'll let you see the ribeye. But the issue is the UV light. It has gone out on several of these units. Well, they ship them out as soon as you tell them, or I told them, and I have mine in about 4 or 5 days. From what I've read, it doesn't hurt anything. It's just the ultraviolet light, goes out, and it'll start, if you leave it like that, it will, from what I heard, mess up the board. So, and I don't think you can see it. What happens is it turns red instead of blue, and I'm getting so much reflection that's not doing us any good. But back to more or less what we're going to do is, again, there's what I got here. There's what I've got here, which is my outdoor thermometer that I have laying right there. I'm going to pull that, because they've sent me a new one, I'm going to pull the UV light out, and just for purposes of showing people maybe that have the same unit, and I know there's videos out there anyhow, but I'm going to show what I do to replace it. And I'm going to weigh that roast while I've got it out. It went in at 13.73 pounds, and we're going to see what it's at now. And a couple of things like that. Maybe take a little look at it. It's got to come out, so I might as well look at it. But anyhow, I'm going to get some of that started, and I'll be right back. Okay, there is the ribeye removed from the Steakager. And it looks good. It's doing what it's supposed to do, obviously. And I'm really anxious to see how this is going to cook and taste. I am really anxious. Like I said, we're right at midway, and I'm down to 12.18 pounds, or 12.1.8. So that's right at a 1.5 pounds that's lost of moisture. So now I'm going to pull the fan out and replace that UV light. So that's where we're at. Got a little ice build up in the back, so when I turn it off, I may try and get that out of there, but honestly, I did it last time, and just so you'll know, that ice builds up behind that plate, and you certainly don't want to put much pressure on that plate because you'll break your seals. So I may let it go. It's certainly not hurting anything. I mean, my temps have been perfect, so I may let it go. If it starts giving me a problem, I may, but we'll see. If it thaws out enough where I can pull it off, I will. But there you go. Be right back. Okay, so here is the fan module removed from the unit, and there's really nothing to it. There's 3 wires you have to unplug. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I had forgotten, but I had already removed this last week and unplugged the UV light. I was trying to show you all that red glow. It's because I had to remove it to unplug it, because they suggested that to keep from damaging that electronic board. All right, here's the 2 screws you go after when you're trying to remove it. Right here, this one and this one. And you just obviously put a Phillips head screwdriver in there and take them down. And then we have to remove this one to lift this cover off to get to everything else. And then here's the instructions. And yeah, I tore the sheet. I was a little hasty getting in that package. Here's how the bulb comes. And I will say, a lot of people had trouble with noise and vibrating. And when I removed it last week, I found something. Is that when you tighten this down, these screws are simply going into the, I don't know if you call it plastic, vinyl, or whatever it is, the housing, and they just self-tap into that. They drill their own hole, whatever you want to say, and they self-tap into that. So when you have to turn the fan, if you remember me saying in the other one, you have to turn the fan in the direction, well, you have to tap these new holes. Well, what I found that made mine a lot quieter is that once I put it in, I didn't really tighten those, and you shouldn't, because it'll just strip out the plastic, obviously. I found that it was making a lot of noise at that point. I just loosened and tightened these until it got quieter. I mean, I'm not going to say I got loose or I got tight. I just adjusted these, I would say, and it made it a lot quieter. So that's just something I'm throwing in. Here's the instructions we got to do. We have to swap these wires. That's another thing they want you to do, is swap the wires on. Here's the beginning, the starting configuration, and then here's what we're going to end up with. So we're swapping 2 wires, and I didn't read up on why. I don't care. They just say do it, so I'm going to, and we're installing that bulb. So I'm going to get that cover off. We're going to that right now. Okay, so here is the fan housing with this cover removed, which I will add. These screws also somewhat thread through the housing that holds it together. You can't put it back wrong, or I guess you could, but it has a notch right here. But what I'm getting at is these are captive, and they don't want to pull out of there, and they also are a little captive through that standoff right there, so you kind of have to thread them all the way out. Just thought I'd add that. Now the next thing is, if you look, this has a sticky gum back, or a sticky gum back double-sided tape on the back of your new UV. Same way this is. So all you got to do is take a screwdriver, be careful of course, and just pry up and lift that out of there. Now, obviously, next thing is to carefully remove this from the control board. Discard that light. Remove your the double sticky tape protective coating there. Line it back up just like this, and it has a place for it to sit. So long as you hit that, I don't think you can mess up. You just have to get it in between those guides, and then give it a little pressure. I would. That's what I did. Now I don't know if this tape is intentionally left in here to hold those wires down. I'm going to leave it. I just don't want it to end up in my fan. So, you know what? I may not leave it. I'm probably going to pull them out. I don't see anything it can do to help. I can see some things it can do to hurt. Now, the plug, if you look, it has guides that stick out on the back. So you really can't put it in backwards. Or, again, you can, but you would have to break something. So you want to make sure you look at these guides. And I hope you can see that. I'm going to hold the camera down here a little bit. You can see those guides on the top. The 2 on the top now, the ones I'm looking at right here. And like I said, I'm having trouble focusing, and I always do. But there are the guides that should go right. I'm going to have to do a little fidgeting. But if you see these 2 slots, that's how you want to make sure you go. If you force it the other way, you'll break that board or that connector, and then then it's broken. So I'm going to make sure mine goes the right way, which again, it'll only go one way successfully. And then I'm going to make sure my wires are out of the way of all this, and then I'm going to remove that tape. If I need something else, I'll get something else. I don't want to leave that tape there. I have a feeling it could give problems. So all that's left now is to reinstall the cover. You want to obviously make sure you don't pinch any wires between these screws. And just common sense stuff. Make sure your wires stay down in that channel. But anyhow, I'm fixing to put that back together, reinstall it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I want to try and show this. I'll see. But you can see I made sure that my wires are not pinched or near that fan. And I removed the tape, as I said. And you can look in there, though. That's my point, is that you can see in the vent and make sure your wires aren't somewhere they shouldn't be. And I did have to pretty much thread these screws also down. And then you put this. This is what is designed to hold it together. But these also require turning with a screwdriver. As I said, they're kind of captive, and they don't. They kind of the shaft is the same size as that hole. So I'm going to install this. We're going to get it running again and see if I can get that ice out. But I'm not crazy about getting that ice out. I'm not going to give it a lot of trouble. If it doesn't come out easy, I'm going to leave it. Be right back. Okay, I'm going to show this just because I mentioned it, but that's not enough ice to worry about. It really isn't. Now, you can see it's loose, and it's real tempting to pull on. But I'm not going to lie. Right there are connections that have Freon that if you put a lot of pressure on, you're going to break those soldered joints. And when you do, it's going to let the Freon out. And you'll just have a pretty box. It says Kingsford on the front because it's not going to cool at that point. I'm going to leave this alone. It's easy, and you see, I could get it out if I wanted to. I could chip or whatever. I'm not going to. It's not worth the risk. If that builds a lot and I have a problem, then I'll revisit this. It's just not worth putting pressure on that right there. So, that being said, I'm fixing to reinstall my fans. By the way, got to swap these cables that are right here, as it says in that brochure or the little pamphlet they sent. So be right back. Okay, so here is the configuration they want of the wires now, which the best way I know to describe it is the white wire did go to the plug with the white wire. Other than that, they're all a little different colors. Obviously, the 4-prong you can't do wrong. But the one that has the white wire coming from the fan now goes to the black and red. There's a white and gray that now goes to the black and red. The white and orange that comes from the unit goes to the one that's got heat shrink on it, and you really can't tell what color those wires are. But there is the best way I know to describe it is to put the black and red to the white and gray, and that's what they want. So, there you go. Okay, we are back and running with a UV light, which you can see right there. And that's where it would look pinkish red if that had failed. Now, I installed this and plugged the unit in, and it was rattling. Well, all I did is loosen this screw right here. I could probably make it rattle if I wanted to. I'm not going to. But I loosened the screw just a little bit. Now, I mean, you don't want to drop it down where you got a big gap, but you can just tinker with it a little bit. Tighten it or loosen it slightly. So, that's my opinion and my method of quietening the unit down. So, I'm fixing to put this ribeye in, and I also have a filet mignon. So, I'm fixing to start a filet mignon and continue my ribeye. Be right back. Okay, so there is my, what was an 8-pound filet mignon, and I cut off 1.4 ounces, so about whatever that comes to, 6.12 ounces, 6 pounds, 12 ounce loin. And I'm starting that today, and as a matter of fact, here is, I've never done before, but I'm going to do it right now, which is add a new cut of beef, and it wants to do, I'm going to tell it tenderloin, and I'm going to do a 30-day, that's what it recommends. That sounds good to me. It's not a big piece, so I'm going to save that. And now I should have a ribeye that has 23 of 45 days, and my tenderloin has 30 of 30 days. So I'll have a week to eat that ribeye. Now you see my temps are a little, well, they're not bad. It's already got it back down to that. Well, maybe not. Again, you look at my outdoor thermometer, which I have in there, it says it's 52 and 46, but take my word, I look at them both quite often, and if that doesn't cook, which it will, that's only been closed for 10 minutes. I'm not even expecting it to be 36. So, doesn't matter. What I'm getting at is, it was a simple procedure. I got the wire swapped like they want for whatever reason. Don't care what they want. And we're back up and running. And as you can see, it's already dropped some degrees. So, I will be back to show y'all how that comes out. And like I said, in 23 days, I'm really looking forward to cutting and sous videing maybe, or just searing. I'm not sure what all ways I'm going to cook that ribeye. I'm sure I'll do a sous vide, and I'm sure I'll just do a couple of other things, but mainly I'm doing it for sous vide and a dry aged steak at home. And then tonight, you know, as a bonus. And the only reason I cut that off is, one, it's a little thin, and you know it's going to dry and probably not be edible, nothing left once you trim, and it still may be like that on the back. I mean, you lose meat, that's part of it, but it also didn't fit just right. So fit better. We're in there. I've got it on the app, ready to go. So, In the Kitchen with Jelly007.com. And by the way, that's www.jelly007.com. That's where you can find all my videos. You just go to that and it takes you to my YouTube page. That's it. And like I said, you can find part 1 of this video if you go look at those, because I did the day I put this in and a couple other things, I think, but mainly just the day I put this in, which was 23 days ago, or 22, whatever that comes to. And this will be part 2 of this Kingsford Steakager. But y'all have a very good night. I appreciate you watching my videos, and y'all come back to see me. Bye-bye.